Namaskaram and welcome to a very new episode of Musings with Udhayji. I am your host, Krishna Nuni, and I don't want to give a generic introduction to Udhayji because you will get to know who he is, and most of you will be already knowing him. And my connection with Udhayji, I would say that proudly that I am his student. So in this series, we will be exploring various aspects of life, Vedanta, mysticism, extraterrestrial life, and so on. And I would love to invite Udhayji to the first session of Musings with Udhayji. Namaskaram, Udhayji.
Namaskaram. Right. All well.
Virtual hugs from my side.
Right.
Because I'm terribly missing those days.
Right.
So this is...
very happy to join you.
Thank you. So this is going to be our first episode. And it will be an introduction about you, your spiritual background, your thoughts on some relevant issues. So, are you ready?
Of course.
Great.
Yes.
So my first question to you is, where did your trust with spirituality start and where did it all begin, your journey?
Right.
Technically, in this journey, we are your juniors and your experience will obviously enrich our journey.
Absolutely.
So it would be really good if you can share some of your journey experience and where did it begin?
Right. Okay. So, pranams to all of you. And if you want me to say the beginning, my mother used to tell me those days, many years ago, that when I was in her womb, my mother's mother, my maternal grandmother, with whom I was very close later on. So she would, during a bhajan session or a religious discourse going on, my mother would fall asleep because she was not, interested and she didn't know much about all these things. So she would fall asleep because she was exhausted, tired. But then my grandmother would tell my mother, you sleep, but let the one who is in your stomach listen to all that. And she's the one who told my mother that if the baby is a baby boy, name him Kumaran. So that's how I got the name Kumar, grandmother's influence. So I would say my spirituality or my interest in all this must have begun right from there, right? And then I was, I remember in my childhood days, my schooling days, I was a very religious person, not spiritual, religious. I would love to watch the photos or paintings of gods and goddesses. I would love to listen to chanting. And I learned to chant the Bhagavad Gita and all that, and I remember this particular memory is very vivid in my mind. I would look at the photo of Lord Shiva and go on looking. Somehow I was attracted to Lord Shiva. And I would look at the, image of Shiva and say, and tell, one day I will see you. So maybe all this began right from my birth. And then one day, I used to do puja at home, every Friday. I was a pujari at home those days. Spirituality has not yet begun, those days. And then later on, somehow, when I entered college, my interest in yoga, somehow it came. My uncle, one of my uncle, even today I tell the people that he was my first guru, my first teacher. So one day he came home. I was in the first year of college graduation or something in Pachepas College. So he came home and he had learned pranayama from a great Swami those days. And when he came home, he knew that I was interested in all this. So he taught me what little he had understood about pranayama. And I was so curious and excited. I picked up all that. Maybe I listened to him not very clearly, but somehow I took that and started practicing intensely. I had no idea you have to be prepared, you have to be ready, you have to do these certain things. None of that. I just started. And within a few weeks, that intense pranayama literally disturbed my, physiological functions of the body. If I keep my hands like this, it would tremble. My whole body was trembling, and I didn't know why this was happening. And semen, my semen used to simply voluntarily flow. I was shocked, stunned, and I didn't know it was related to pranayama practice, wrong pranayama practice. And my mom took me to a doctor, an ordinary physician. And he didn't know anything about yoga, pranayama or spirituality, none of those. Ordinary doctor. He told me, I don't know what you're doing. Please stop all that. Take these medicines and let this help you to settle down. That's how I, started taking medicine. I stopped all my pranayama practice. And then the medicines helped me a little bit, quietened down. And then again, after a few months, my interest in yoga again suddenly began. So I picked up a book. That was the first instance I picked up a book, Light on Yoga by P.K. Iyengar. So I went through the book thoroughly, and keeping the book by the side, I started practicing. And it was around that time, the first book I read on spirituality was the biography of Swami Vivekananda.
Beautiful.
That hit me like anything. And that was a transformation, Until that point, I was a pakka non-vegetarian. And without mutton or fish or anything, I would not eat. And my poor father will get all that for me, But after reading Swami Vivekananda's book, completely transformed. I became a 100% vegetarian. I started reading more and more books about spirituality, Ramakrishna, Ramana Bhagwan has not yet come those days, I was still and then Jiddu Krishnamurti, and that's how it started. So maybe if you really ask, where did it start? Maybe my birth, when I was in my mother's womb, my grandmother's influence.
Quite similar to the story of Abhimanyu.
Maybe, right. That's why, in the entire family, in my own family, me and my uncle, my late uncle, we were the only two people into spirituality. None of them, even today. So that's how I began my journey.
All right. So my second question to you is, being an educator, I strongly feel that the present education system is lacking a coherence. It's not doing justice to the students. So what are your takes on the education system prevailing in the world, and how can we revolutionize the education system?
Yeah. I would love to talk about education, because that is that is what I was doing and I am doing even today. So if you want me to look at the present system of education that is going on in the schools and colleges and universities across the world, I feel very sad, unfortunate. I pity the students who are made to go through all those, let me use the word, useless things. Yesterday I was in the class, and I was telling them how the British imperialism, their recommendation that the Indians should receive English education, it was they who imposed this kind of education onto our heads. And even today, we are following the Macaulay system. And I was quoting an example from my own college days. I did BSc Botany, ancillary was Zoology. And I remember still, cutting this poor frog on a wooden plank, and cutting its poor abdomen and pinning the tissues on either side. And then the teacher will come and tell you, look, that is a heart. And the heart is still, beating because the frog is not dead. Anesthesia, you see. And that is the heart and this is the intestine. And that, to know what a heart looks like, to know what the heart feels like, and do I have to murder a frog or murder anything else? Right? And that education, what am I doing now? Absolutely no connection. And that is not of any use, even in your daily, life. You want to get a job or anything, you will get some job, but it is not related to what you're doing. Exactly what is happening today also. I know a lot of people who have done, different courses. For example, a mechanical engineer sitting in the bank and counting cash, right? I know doctors who are, doctors who have gone through MBBS, but then they are left all that and taken up music as their profession. So, yes, education system is not the way it was once upon a time in India. Our ancient Gurukula system of education. Marvelous. I was just telling a while ago to Aishu that, our ancient education system in the Gurukula system, we had both the material prosperity and spirituality going side by side, parallelly, and both of them complementing each other, right? Spirituality means it is not that you deny whatever, no, I will be poor, I will not do that. No. You have to be rich materially, your physical well-being, and only then the psychological well-being, and beyond that, spirituality will begin. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say this, philosophy is not for hungry stomachs.
Absolutely.
Right? So, education system has to completely change. But who will change? When? How? I have no idea. People like me can go on saying, but the people who are sitting on top, giving out policies and all that, they should understand all this. Otherwise, very little can be done.
I think you should write a book on this particular.
Who will read, Krishna? Who will read? People are so busy, no time, and reading, I was a voracious reader, but now I don't read any stuff except newspapers and some, things. That's all. So reading, those days are gone. Books and all that, publishing books. No, it won't work.
All right. So education system has to change.
Yes, we have been telling this right from day one. But then, where are the listeners?
Yeah, true. I feel really honored and blessed. So, namaskaram Udhayji with virtual hugs.
Of course, virtual hugs. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Udhayji, and we will be meeting you guys again with a wonderful session near soon. And this is your host, Krishnan Unni, signing off. Namaskara.
Namaskar. Thank you.